Since I got so many requests in my first thread to keep you all updated on the one-armed, one-eyed lolly situation, I thought I'd post what happened during last night's shift. I'm still somewhat hesitant to start a blog, so this'll just have to do for the time being. Anyways, I picked her up a teeny little stuffed bear, about the size of her hand, and one of those chocolate oranges you smack to split open, and stuffed the toy into the pocket of my scrubs, and the candy into my bag next to my DS, before I headed inside. The security guard at the reception desk, a big Indian guy that's always talking about MTV, did a short search. I guess it was my lucky night. But he only checked the bag, so it was my lucky night indeed. We exchanged mindless pleasantries and I headed to the break room to check the night's duty log. Anyways, to make a boring part of the story short, I eventually wound up back at the night station to start my shift, and killed time as best as I could until around 1. When I saw the coast was clear, I hooked the beeper set up to receive calls from the patient's rooms onto my waistband for when we're away from the station, and I headed for her room with the bear and orange chocolate in one of my hands. I listened at the door for a minute or so, noting that there was light coming from under it, but she's apparently been scared of the dark since the accident, so she always keeps at least a small light on, even when sleeping. Trying both to listen for activity and to work up my courage, then finally opened it up. I found her looking my way, in a mixture of very mild surprise and annoyance. She asked me what I wanted as I stepped in, closing the door behind myself and walking up to her bedside, where she was propped up with the pillows behind her back, frowning. I just smiled as gently as I could, and I took my hand out from behind my back, opening it to reveal the dual offerings. She blinked at that, staring at them for a beat or two, before looking up at me again, and frowning again. Then asking, and I quote, "What?" "They were for her," I said, explaining that the other nurses had noticed that she seemed to be feeling down lately and that a little early Christmas gift might help. Then, as I set them down on the corner of her little bedside table beside her, turning the bear to face her, I also explained that people in charge here probably wouldn't approve of the nurses and myself giving them to her. So, could she keep a secret? I gave a little wink when I said that last bit and brought my finger up to my lips in the standard shh position. After another few seconds, she turned her gaze from me to the bear. Then, the confused, almost upset look on her face, still there, and she was silent for almost a minute. I almost had a heart attack. My heart was beating so fast, worrying that she'd react in the worst way possible. But then she mumbled something I almost didn't catch, save for my heightened state of awareness. "Thank you." I just smiled again as she refused to look at me directly, turning her good eye downward instead into her own lap, and after a moment's debate, I reached out and lightly touched the top of her head with my open hand for just half a second before I turned around again and moved to walk out of the room. Barely able to control the butterflies in my stomach, I snuck a peek back as I closed the door again behind myself, after stepping out and saw her reaching for the bear. A great success, I'd say. I quietly opened the door again around 3 to find her sleeping, curled up on her left side, the bear still in her hand, near her chest. An angel doesn't even come close, B, and I felt better than I had in weeks. I cleaned up the foil and the couple of pieces left from the chocolate quietly, and stepped back out again. So far, so good. This next section is an Ask Me Anything from the thread. Into her own lap. Legless people have laps? Yeah. She only lost roughly half her legs in transfemoral amputations. Or what? Do you need knees to qualify? Anyways, there isn't much more to tell. I just finished up my shift as best as I could, in a mixture of nervousness and barely suppressed glee. Nothing much else happened. Oh, and I finished hard rock mode on EBA, but that isn't really salient to the main topic of discussion. Is it hard becoming a nurse? I want a little lolly amputee. I completed my registered nursing program after I finished my bachelor's. It wasn't as hard as med school, I guess, but I didn't really feel like another 4 years of school and then a bunch more years of interning after that at the time. I had been considering becoming a paramedic, but didn't, for reasons I don't really want to get into here. Anyways, it's a pretty rewarding career, when the doctors aren't being total dickheads and the patients aren't vomiting or pissing or shitting all over you. Maybe that's what drew me to be, actually. Bullshit. Mainly because Terry's chocolate oranges are the hardest fucking candies to get ready to eat. Why would you get something like that to a one-armed, one-eyed girl that could never break it open? But no, please, continue anyways. Shit, I know I forgot to mention something. I hadn't really tried one of the chocolate orange things before, so I asked the checkout clerk how hard it would be to open one. She said you have to whack it pretty hard, but that's all part of the fun, right? And laughed. I laughed too and left the store. Turning it over in my head on my way home to get ready for work, I decided it probably would be a bit frustrating for her, and I didn't want that. So when I got home, I gave it a couple of medium-strength whacks on my table, then felt around the inside of the foil. It felt pretty separated somewhat inside, so I left it at that state. Then got ready, and the story proceeded as I told it. And her eyes are green, by the way. Holy shit, this has a scent of truth. You're back at your normal time, 14-ish EST. What are your plans for the future? Do you really think you can adopt her? I'm strongly considering it, and looking through some web pages on local laws. I have a lawyer cousin, so I can get some free legal advice if it comes to it. He'll be at the family's for Christmas. I'm considering telling them about her then, and asking their advice on my consideration of trying to help her. You have pleased Anonymous about keeping us all updated. Keep those updates coming. Serious question though. OP, how often do you work, and will you be giving us updates on B frequently? Even small updates would be appreciated. I usually work 5 or 6 days a week. Probably more this month since I don't have a family, spouse and kids, to spend the holidays with. I have tonight off, so I'm a bit nervous about what's happening there while I'm at home, but not much I can do about that. I'll probably just spend Christmas Day with the family. It's about an hour's drive each way, so I'll be seeing her then, and Christmas Eve. Anyways. This is simultaneously heartwarming and autistic. I want to believe you, but I know that good things are usually lies. I know you can't take a picture or anything, but is there anything else you can do to further solidify my belief in you? Does your nursing home have a website? Of course we can't know who you are, but the more evidence that this is true, the better. Yeah, I'm really going to let slip the name of the place I work at when I have at least 10% of the responses telling me I need to die in prison and want to call the police on me? I'm not really retarded, people. No offense to the poster I'm replying to here directly. I need to AFK for 10 minutes or so. I'm getting buzzed on my intercom. BRB. This post is from an anonymous. Let me throw in my 2 cents, even though they don't matter. You have an opportunity of a lifetime. You can really get in on this girl if you do it right. However, in light of your recent events, you may be walking closer to the creepy factor if you don't watch it. I mean, let's look at it from her perspective. Someone busts into your room at 1 in the fucking morning and hands you candy and a bear and tells you to keep it a secret. Kind of disturbing. However, it seems like you did it well. If she's holding the bear, it means that she probably appreciated the gift. Here's what I would do. Stay back for a little bit. Don't get too suddenly grabby or else the little alarm bells in her head will go off. I don't care how messed up she is. She's a normal human in the head, and she'll probably read you like a book. Keep low and keep nice. Visit her occasionally, preferably if you actually have something to do. Just make your way closer, where you are in her line of sight, but just not obnoxiously so. And good luck. OP here. Yes, adoption is the most likely course. with the other major choice being do nothing, which I would feel like shit over, but remains a possibility simply due to the overwhelmingness of the undertaking. And for the last time, anything sexual isn't on the menu for the foreseeable future, and I haven't even done anything inappropriate to her. I haven't touched her in any manner outside of the boundaries of my profession and her position as my patient, and I haven't introduced her to any sexually inappropriate material, verbal or otherwise. Oh, and for the record, all of you taxi driver wannabes out there furiously masturbating to the thought of proving to the world just how big a man you are, needing tweezers to do so be damned. Find me one place where I've actually said I planned or even wanted to rape her. Go ahead. And to address the potential creepiness of the situation last night, now that I'm reminded by this post, yeah, I know, but how else should I have done it? Oh yes, go right ahead and start urinating, dear. I've got you. You won't fall in. Oh, and by the way, here's a stuffed animal and some candy. I tried to be as non-threatening and as gentle as possible, and it seemed pretty clear, to me at least, that nobody had spoken to her this way. To a sad, lonely little girl, as a person that actually cared about her, rather than her making progress in treatment. More or less since the accident. That was why she didn't have much to say. I don't intend to proceed straight to visiting her room all night every night from now on. Jesus, I'm not that dumb or crude. I'll just be around, available and a source of kindness if she wants it, and things can proceed from there. She's a smart girl after all. I'm not going to treat her like some TV Land retardo kid. And for the record, it's entirely possible for amputees, even multiple ones, to retain muscle tone and fitness. It just takes exercise. The same as for anyone else, though they generally can't do all the usual ones available for the more full-bodied. She's working very hard at her physical rehab, perhaps because it helps her forget about the difficulty with her mental rehab, unfortunately. I'm not really sure about her family. There was nobody listed as next of kin on her records, just social workers. Gossip around the workplace, passed on from those of us with friends at the hospital she spent her first 2 months in, is that her father was a first-generation American Fjordian. Specific country not mentioned, might have been Sweden. Only child, and his parents were dead. No information on grandparents. Her mother was a multi-generation Japanese-American whose family hasn't made any attempt to even contact them and may have refused to answer any of the various workers' attempts at getting information and attention from them. I guess she pissed them off pretty badly by marrying Whitey. Nobody even vaguely Japanese-looking has ever visited her since the accident, and from what I've heard, her social worker has been having no luck whatsoever with any sort of family placement. She has a better chance of growing a new arm and legs than getting placed in a group home or foster care. The system sucks. She's not retarded. She's very intelligent. It's just that she's been so badly traumatized that she's developed severe PTSD. I mean, PTSD that makes fucked up Vietnam veterans look healthy. Withdrawing from human contact, depression, anxiety, aggression, fear of the dark, nightmares. She's voiced she thought she had no future, and nobody even wants her anymore. To therapists, she practically goes into a fear coma every time she has to ride in a vehicle somewhere as a trigger from the crash. I really wish there was magic in this world. OP here. Pointing this out because this will be a short response. I care about her because I care about her. I'd do it if she had everything intact, physically and mentally. Of course, if that was the case, we probably wouldn't have ever met, and I wouldn't have given her more than a momentary glance as we passed each other in a mall or something, and just a passing thought of, wow, cute kid. It's complicated. I know I'll get laughed at for this, but I don't go around fantasizing about juniors. She's a special case. I'd put her odds of winding up in foster care, which I'm pretty sure would be spectacular for her, at around 1%. Foster parents don't have to accept any kids, they choose to do so, and thus the really messed up ones rarely ever even leave group homes. And group homes don't have to accept kids they admit they can't care for, such as those with severe physical and medical needs, let alone severe mental health issues. That's where the institutional care comes in. which is where she's at, and where she'll stay unless someone outside the system, per se, steps in to take a risk. Frankly, I don't see anyone else stepping up to the plate, so far. And I know it's a long shot, but I've seen single parents adopt successfully before. I'm actually a pretty upstanding guy, battle scars aside, and I can actually care for her special needs. No, this is not an innuendo, which is a big plus in this case. I have a steady income already. I have friends and family that'll stand beside me, and yeah, nobody in the system wants her. Frankly, B is my biggest danger here, but I'm a B-tard, and a B-tard I shall be. I'll just have to be careful here. OP, I hope you remember to suggest getting her a teddy bear at the meeting like you said you were going to, or just smuggle one in. And I hope nobody there has the heart to take a teddy bear away from her just because it's against regulations. Believe me, I hope so too. The head administrator isn't a complete bitch, and most of the rest of the nursing staff and orderlies are relatively decent people. You know, for being in a high burnout profession and all. I can just keep my fingers crossed and hope that it either causes no furor or a small enough one that I'll get off with a slap on the wrist.